And a good spiritual morning to you once again. Thanks for joining us today for a quick chat. And of course, our morning cup of coffee.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being with us today. We hope you're having a wonderful day. And we are getting ready for Lent.
We're getting ready. We're in the preparation.
Prep time.
Prep time. And we did, the last couple of videos were about the past couple of Sundays. We talked about the publican and the Pharisee. These Sundays of preparation, we talked about the prodigal son. So we talked about humility, and we talked about repentance, and now
Easy stuff.
Yeah, the basics. The basics. I do that, sure. And this past Sunday was Judgment Sunday, right? Which means we know that Lent is right around the corner because Judgment Sunday is the third Sunday of the preparation. There's 4 Sundays of preparation: Publican and the Pharisee, Prodigal Son, Judgment Sunday, which is also Meat Fair, and then the Sunday of Forgiveness, which is also Cheese Fair. So we're now on Judgment Sunday. And sounds a little scary.
It does. It's a heavy word.
But what's interesting, and so what's the theme of Judgment Sunday? It's not judgment, right? Really, the theme is actually charity.
See how great God is? He tries to get us.
Because if you look at the gospel reading for Sunday, it's Christ talking about, I was hungry and you gave me food. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. I was in prison I was sick and you visited me. I was, naked and you clothed me. And so that's the criteria basically for salvation. Like he's not mentioning anything else.
It's incredible because it's very spelled out. It's from his own mouth, right? It's not just something. I think it's what I like about it is I think, Judgment Sunday, God's, condemning me or there's bad thing, but it's teaching me to look outside of myself. And I think that's an amazing thing in the Christian struggle is we do, and in life in general, we're constantly looking in the mirror or looking at our selfies. We're constantly looking at ourselves where God's trying to say, what are you doing for others?
Yeah, and I think
outside of yourself.
That's a big temptation in Lent. I think there's a big temptation in Lent to be a little egotistical about it and self-centered about it, I should say. Because how am I going to fast? How am I going to pray? What services am I going to go to? It's a lot of me. And it's supposed to be outward oriented and outward focused.
Yeah.
Right? And so to not forget the love of our fellow human beings. That's really what this is supposed to be all about. It's not about, well, I eat this kind of food or I don't eat that kind of food. Yeah, why? Like the food in and of itself, it ain't going to get you to heaven.
It's not your battle.
Yeah, I mean, it's really about what we're doing with one another. And so it's reminding us of this absolutely essential component of our Lenten journey, which is charity, which is works of mercy, right? Let's say that, works of mercy.
I think a lot of people don't also associate fasting with saving money and giving it to the poor.
Right.
That's a bridge I didn't realize until I was older.
Sure.
That we're like, okay, you're supposed to fast. You're supposed to deprive yourself and feel hungry and feel the suffering. And we, like you said, me.
Right.
Instead of saying, you know what, and believe me, we have a big family. We spend a lot of money on groceries.
We do.
So the point is, I'm going to spend less on groceries. I'm going to spend less on the things that cost a lot. But am I remembering then when I look at my checkbook that I give the extra $100 to the soup kitchen, that I give the extra money to what cause maybe my family decides about. Right.
To perform works of mercy.
To think outside of our home and how do we help others.
Right. And I've said that repeatedly. I always make that sort
click, though,
that joke, that idea that, I'm fasting. So I'm instead of having the hamburger for $12, I'm having the lobster for $42.
Because I'm eating fish, Father.
Right, because I'm having shellfish. So you're following the rules. Technically, you're following the rules, but it's like, but you're missing the whole point.
Yeah.
The whole point is don't spend the $12 on the burger. Stay home, have a PB&J for 45 cents. Take the $10 or the $12 and go and feed people that are starving. Yeah. So that then when the day does come where you want to hear from Christ, I was hungry and you gave me food, you're actually going to hear that. It's not going to be the people that were put on the left, right? The goats, unfortunately. Okay. And they said, well, when did we, didn't do that? He's like, when you didn't do it to the least of my brothers and sisters, basically, you didn't do it to me. So a part of our Lenten journey is to think about how to perform works of mercy and to make a plan for that, right? To plan it in to everything else that we're doing, to say, okay, well, and people say, well, that sounds good. Right. I don't think anyone is going to disagree. I shouldn't be charitable.
Right.
It's just a matter of how do I do that?
What's the application?
Yeah. I should perform works of mercy. That sounds good. I should do that.
Yeah.
And then people don't do anything because it sounds good and I agree with it.
Yeah.
I just don't know what do I do?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, again, a lot of times in the spiritual life, play to your strength. When you're starting something, what do you like to do? Like in terms of what do you feel passionately about? In terms of charity, because there's lots of different
joy.
There's lots of different ways to do charity,
right?
And to give to charity.
But you want to do it with a joyful heart. You don't want to do it grudgingly.
Right.
So if you're going to do it joyfully, you're going to have energy, and you're going to want to do it, and you're going to want to organize it. There's a joke too. I was thinking about this too. When our children are young and Lent comes around or different holiday, you're like, okay, let's go through our closets. Let's get rid of things that we haven't done, toys, clothes. Adults, people, do you know how many things we have in our closet? Right. Do you know how many shoes some of my friends own?
Sure.
There's this way of saying, young parents talk about Lent in their house, right? We think, I'm old, I'm an empty nester, I don't do the same kind of Lent. There's a lot of things we can do. There's a lot of ways that we can participate.
Well, that's the thing. It's like we make our kids do things that we don't want to do. It's like, okay, sweetie, let's go through your closet. Let's look at all of the toys that you don't play with. Let's bag up all the ones and what you should do, right? This is something we should teach our kids, like you're saying. That's a simple way of starting. So a simple way of starting is look in your own house, right? And say, do I use this? Do I need this? Mm-hmm. Could someone else benefit from it? Maybe, why don't I just give it? Mm-hmm. And have an open heart and help and give. Yeah. But it's also a matter of, there's so many different charitable organizations out there. Find one that speaks to you and find a way that you can actually do it. I mean, it shouldn't just be about writing a check. Or just about going online and putting in your credit card, saying, okay, I went on PayPal and I did that. So I checked that box. It's done. I'm good. That's really not going to soften your heart. That's really not going to make the impact that it's going to make if you physically go and do something. You have to get your hands a little dirty. You have to go and see people face to face in order for it to really have the impact. So what is it going to be? It can be something that has to do with people's health. It can be food insecurity. It can be for children. It can be for domestic problems, domestic violence, domestic abuse, human trafficking. It can be for veterans benefit. It can be for education. There's countless charities all around us. Yeah. Just sort of say, okay, well, what would I like? What cause would I like to take up? And how would I like to help? Yeah. And could I find an hour in the month of March? I think you could find an hour in the month of March to go do something. And the more time you can find, the more that you can do, the more, again, for our own salvation, we're sort of building that up. Because we want to be with the sheep. We don't want to be with the goats. We don't want to hear that from Christ. You didn't do it. When I'm helping that person, you're seeing the face of Christ. In that person. Don't think about, it's just some guy. No. That could be Christ. Like you see the face of Christ in everybody.
That's transformative.
Well, and that's where it's supposed to be not just about, if I go and I volunteer. When we're saying being charitable, yes, it should be to organizations. It should be to people that are in need, people on the street. But it's also, when they say charity begins at home, in that, I don't think I'm using the expression the way that it's intended, but let me put a twist on it. Yeah, you don't go and be kind to strangers and be ruthless with people in your own house or people in your own family or people that you see. You have to also see the face of Christ in all the people that you deal with.
And let it transform us.
And be loving.
Yeah, let it, like you said, when we talked about this before, when we talked about confession, until you say it out loud, that's when the tears come. If it's just going on in your head, it's when you see a homeless person or a child with insecurities, when you go and you see it, it transforms you. It's not the same online. It's not the same. It's not the same. St. Jude sends us the stuff in the mail and I mail a check back. It's a beautiful thing.
It's a blessing.
But when you see it, the transformative thing, I think in Lent, we tend to kind of make lists. Okay, this is my list for Lent, or this is my goal for Lent, and that's our Lent. But how does that transform us? If you go and give food at a soup kitchen and then go to church that night, how different are the prayers? When you've seen the face of God in person, and then you come and you pray at night for those people that you've just met.
Right.
All of it
And the
it's
blessing.
This beautiful connection.
It's a cycle.
We need to make connections.
It's the blessing of how we're impacted by it, how it softens our heart, but also the blessing of then we've helped those, but I'm going to do it, God willing, and then I'm going to, like you said, I'm going to go and then I'm going to pray for those people. But they're also remembering my face, and they're also praying for me. And that cycle, that's what we want to perpetuate.
Wow.
That's what we want to be happening. And so it's just the point of today is to say what the church is reminding us, Sunday of Judgment, is the importance, the absolute necessity of works of mercy, of being charitable, of feeding the hungry, of clothing the naked, of visiting those who are either ill or in prison, or, just the act of love and mercy and works of mercy. That's what we're going to be judged on. We're not going to be judged on did I have lobster? Did I have chicken? Or did I have rice? That those are tools to help us in the spiritual life. Don't hear what I'm saying and think, well, Father said I don't have to fast.
I don't have to fast. Yeah.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the food is not going to condemn you, but being, unkind and unloving and not being charitable, that will condemn you. The food is going to help you do all of it. The food is going to give you the resources, like you said, to say, okay, I'm looking for that extra $20 or $30. Well, if I don't go spend it over here because I'm fasting, I don't go over there, and I have a little bit of extra, now I can give it over here. And now that becomes a blessing, for me also.
Yeah.
That's what Lent is supposed to be about. And that's part of our Lenten journey. And so the Sunday of Judgment is just reminding us of that, to be aware of the fact that one day you're going to have to answer for everything that you're doing. And when you give that account, what you're going to be judged on is, did you have love? Did you have the love of Christ? And did you show the love of Christ and help people that are around you? And that's now an opportunity to take the next 6 weeks and drill down on that and work on that and feel good about that so that we can build up our relationship with Christ and do that each and every day.
Amen.